Hi guys, welcome to my channel. In this video, I will be covering Unit 2, that is XML in Web Technologies. Friends, I have uploaded complete web technology tutorials. I will provide link in description. You can watch from there. And if you are watching this video for the first time, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Let's get started. Before starting introduction to XML, you need to know difference between HTML and XML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. HTML is used to display data, whereas XML is used to store and transport data. This HTML is non-case sensitive. Non-case sensitive means it treats capital A and small a equally. That means both capital A and small a are same in HTML. But in XML is case sensitive. That means it treats capital A and small a differently. This is meaning of case sensitive. HTML is static in nature and whereas XML is dynamic in nature. HTML mainly focus on appearance and presentation, but whereas XML focus on exchange of information. As we all know, for every open tag there should be a closed tag. In HTML it is not necessary to use closing tags, but whereas in XML we should definitely use closing tags, otherwise it display error. I will write program of HTML and as well as XML so that you can clearly differentiate difference between HTML and XML. At first I will write program of HTML. As we all know, every HTML program contains head and body. Inside head we need to write title. I am giving title as first program, and for every open tag there should be a closed tag, and inside body we need to write actual program, and for every open tag there should be a closed tag. Inside body I am writing heading as CSC and I closed this heading, and at last we need to close HTML. This is program of HTML. This is a simple program of HTML. Output is CSC. This is output because I took heading as CSC, so output is CSC. Next I am writing program of XML. This HTML head, body, h1, all these are predefined tags. There are predefined tags in HTML. This h1, body, all these are considered as predefined tags. But in XML we can create our own tags. Anything that is written in between angle brackets is known as tag. This HTML is written in between angle brackets, so it is known as tag. Similarly, in HTML we can create our own tag. I am creating tag as college. Inside college there is a class, and for every open tag there should be a closed tag. Inside college there is class. Similarly, we need to close the class, and inside class there is student. Student name is Raju and we need to close this student. As we all know, for every open tag there should be a closed tag. Inside college there is class, inside class there is student, and that student name is Raju. Output is college, class, student, his name is Raju. This is output. Difference between HTML and XML is there are predefined tags in HTML, but in XML we can create our own tags. And in this, if you see, there should be it is not necessary to use closing tags. Even if you don't use h1 tag here, closing tag here, output is generated. But in XML, if you do not use this closing tag, output is error. Output is displayed as error message. So it is mandatory to use closing tags in XML. But in HTML, it is not mandatory to use closing tags. And HTML is non-case sensitive. That means capital A and small a both are same. See, in this I given body as small b here, and for closing tag I given capital B. Even if you write like this, output is generated. But whereas in XML both capital A and small a both are different. For example, here I took small c and here I took capital C, then output is not going to get generated. Output is displayed as error. So HTML is non-case sensitive and XML is case sensitive. We'll start with introduction to XML. The full form of XML is Extensible Markup Language, where E is silent here. The main use of XML is to store and transport data. In order to store and transport data, we use this XML. And for example, if you consider HTML, there are predefined tags in HTML. For example, if you see this, in this example, HTML head, body, h1, all these are predefined tags. But in XML we can create our own tags. That means we can give any name to our tag. If you see in this example, college, class, students, all these are own tags which we have created. So we can create our own tags in XML. XML was designed to be both human and machine readable. This XML was easily understandable by both human and as well as machine. XML plays an important role in many different IT systems. It is often used for distributing data over internet. In this XML, main purpose of using this XML is to distribute data. As I said before, it is used to store and transport data. We can easily transport data over internet in XML, and this XML was used by many of the IT companies because this language is easily understandable by human beings. So many of the software companies prefer this XML. Many of the software engineers use this XML because it is easily understandable by human beings and as well as for machine. XML is self-descriptive. Self-descriptive means it contains sender information, receiver information, heading and as well as message body. So this XML is self-descriptive, and XML became a W3C recommendations in the year February 1998. XML was recommended by W3C. W3C stands for World Wide Web Consortium. It was recommended by World Wide Web Consortium in the year 1998 February. This is introduction to XML. Next I will explain small program of XML. At first we need to write XML version. So that first we need to write open bracket question mark XML version is 1.0. This is present version of XML which we are using, and encoding is UTF-8. Encoding is used for protecting. In order to protect this content, we use encoding, and this encoding type is UTF-8, and after that you need to use question mark close angle bracket. After that I am writing tag named college. Inside college there is class. That class name is CSC, and inside that class there is student. His name is Shiva and his rule number is 912. And in XML for every open tag there should be a closed tag. If you see here, I written college. Similarly I closed this college. I opened class, student, rule number, and similarly I closed class, rule number and student. After writing this, output look like college and class 1, that class name is CSC, and student, his name is Shiva and rule number is 912. This is output for this program. This is simple example of program of XML. This is simple example program of XML. This topic is XML tags. As I said before, we can create our own tags in XML. XML is more flexible than HTML because we can create our own tags in XML. If you consider this example, starting tag is known as root element. Whatever starting tag that we are writing, it is known as root element, and we can give any name to our root element. And definitely we need to include open angle bracket and closed angle bracket for this root element. And for every open tag there should be a closed tag. For example, if you see this, I written name, and similarly I closed this name, and we need to close by using slash symbol. For every open tag there should be a closed tag, and this closed tag is included with slash symbol. As I said before, XML is case sensitive. That means it treat capital A and small a differently. For example, if you see this example, at first I written open tag as name with capital N and closed tag with small n. So it will not generate output because it display error. If you use small letter for open tag, then even for closed tag you need to use small letter. If you use capital N for open tag and for closed tag you need to use capital N. If you do not write any content in between tags, we call it as empty. I hope you guys have understood what are the properties of XML tag. Once again I will revise. In XML, starting tag is known as root tag, and for every open tag there should be a closed tag. We should definitely include angle brackets for tags. As XML is case sensitive, we need to write same letters for both open tag and closed tag. For example, if you use here capital N, similarly for closed tag also you need to use capital N. For example, for open tag if you use small n, similarly for closed tag you need to use small n. Tags without content is known as empty. All these are the properties of XML tags. Next topic is attributes and values in XML. I will write one small program. In this program I took person gender is male, and that person name is Sai. This is program. First I written person, after that I written gender is male, and his name is Sai. This is small program. Instead of writing like this, you can also write like this. Person, his gender is male, and that person name is Sai. These both are same programs. Instead of writing program in this many lines, you can also write like this: person, gender is male, where this gender is considered as attribute and this male is considered as value. This gender is considered as attribute and male is considered as value, and definitely we need to include double quotations for value. We can also include single quotations. In order to make our program look smaller, we use this attributes and values. I will give one more example: college, class, name, Sai. Similarly, we need to close this. I open name tag and I close this name tag. Similarly, I open class tag and we need to close this class and we need to close college. Instead of writing like this, you can also write college class equal to name, double quotations, and Sai and college. Both are same programs, but difference is this program occupied multiple lines, whereas this program occupied single line. This class is attribute and this name is value, but using these attributes and values are not recommended because there is high chances for getting errors and writing this is very complicated. So always programmers used to write like this instead of writing attributes and values. And there is one more disadvantage, that is we cannot write multiple values in single attribute. So an attribute contains only single value. For example, if I want to add one more, it is very easy. If I want to add one more tag, it is very easy. But adding one more tag in these attributes and values are very complicated. So these attributes and values are not recommended. Hope you have understood what are attributes and values in XML. This topic is XML schemas. We also call this XML schemas as XML schema definition, that is XSD. The definition of XML schema is: XML schema is used to describe structure of XML document. In order to describe structure of XML document, we use this XML schema. We write these XML schemas in XML and it supports various kinds of data types and namespaces. When compared to XML DTD, this XML schema provides more control over XML structure. I did not explain this XML DTD. I will explain this in this session. We can perform 4 things by using XML schema. First one is we can describe document content, and second one is we can add restrictions to our data, and third one is we can validate correctness of data. That means we can check errors present in the data. And fourth one is we can convert data between different data types. We can easily convert one data type into another by using XML schema. And one of the greatest strength of XML schema is there is no need of learning new language because this XML schema is written in XML. So there is no need of learning new language. This is basic syntax of XML schema. XS schema, XML NS XS equal to, inside these double quotations we need to paste our URL, where this XS stands for XML schema, this is prefix, and XML NS stands for XML namespace, and this XS stands for XML schema. This is syntax of XML schema. XML schema is classified into 2 types. First one is simple type and next one is complex type. In simple type we can represent data only in the form of text. Simple type allows to have only text based elements. That means we can include only text based elements in simple type. This simple type contains only less attributes. It contains only less attributes, less child elements, and it should not be left empty. We should not leave this simple type empty. Complex type allows you to hold multiple attributes. In simple type contains only less attributes, but whereas in complex type it contains multiple attributes and elements, and it can also contain additional sub elements. We can also add some sub elements, additional sub elements in this complex type, and it can be left empty. We can also leave this complex type empty. This is basic difference between simple type and complex type. This XML schema is classified into 2 types. First one is simple type and next one is complex type. Now I will write program of XML schema. Open bracket question mark. XML version is 1.0. This is current version of XML, and question mark, close angle bracket. As we already discussed XML schema syntax, XS schema, where XS stands for XML schema, it is prefix, and XML NS XS, where this NS stands for namespace, equal to double quotations. We need to paste our URL here and close this with angle bracket. Open the schema and similarly I need to close this schema /access schema. I open schema and similarly I closed this schema. After that, I need to open access element name. I am giving element name as contact and this contact is complex type. I give an element name. This element name is contact and this contact is complex type and it should be in sequence. Access sequence. Similarly, we need to close this element. After closing element, we need to close complex type. After closing complex type, we need to close sequence. Access sequence. We need to include slash here. For closing tag, we need to include slash. Inside this, we need to write content. This is the content which I have written inside this. Inside sequence, I written element name as name. As we all know, name is string character, so I given type as access string. Similarly, I took another element name as company. Company also string, so I given type as string. Next, third element name is phone. Phone is integer, so I given type as access integer. This is the content which I have written inside sequence. After writing this entire program, you need to write description of these 4 tags. This is description of these 4 tags. Access element name equal to contact. The meaning of this tag is we are giving element name as contact. And next one is access complex type. Meaning of this tag is whatever the element name that is contact. This is of complex type. This is meaning of this. And third tag is access sequence. We are representing this complex type in sequence. And fourth one is access element name equal to name, type equal to access string. The meaning of this tag is I give an element name as name and this name is of string data type. Next topic is XML DOM. DOM stands for Document Object Model. If you want to represent your XML document in the form of tree structure, we need to use XML DOM. This is small program which I have written. Inside books, I open 2 tags. First one is book tag and next one is publication tag. Inside book tag, I written author as Rahul, price as 256 and published date as 5/10/21. And inside publication tag, I written publisher name as Nagendra and state name as Telangana. By using this XML DOM, we can represent this entire program in the form of tree structure. This is how we can represent that program. First 2 nodes are common. First one is document and this document type is XML and first one is at first I open books tag. So here we need to write books. Books contains another 2 tags. First one is book and next one is publication. So here I given books and publication. Inside books tag I written author and author name as Rahul and price 256, so price as 256 and publisher date as 5/10/21. Similarly, inside publication I written publisher name as Nagendra and the state as Telangana, so it look like this. Publisher name as Nagendra and state as Telangana. This is entire tree structure of this XML document. This DOM, the main use of this XML DOM, that is document object model, is to represent our XML document in the form of tree structure. I will give one more example of this XML DOM. I took root element as college. Similarly, we need to close this. Inside college, there is class 1. Similarly, we need to close this class 1. And we need to take class 2. And similarly, we need to close this class 2. Inside class 1, there is student 1. His name is Sai. And similarly, inside class 2, there is student 2. His name is Raju. I want to represent this entire XML document in the form of tree structure by using XML DOM. So output look like document type is XML and here we need to write root element is college. Inside college there is class 1 and class 2. Class 1, class 2. Inside class 1 there is student 1, his name is Sai, student 1 and his name is Sai. And similarly inside class 2 Here is student, his name is Raju. Student 2 and his name is Raju. This is program and tree structure. We can represent this entire XML document into tree structure by using XML DOM. Next topic is XHTML. XHTML stands for Extensible Hypertext Markup Language. This XHTML was developed by W3C, that is World Wide Web Consortium, and by using this XHTML we can translate HTML document into XML document. XHTML version 1.0 is the first version of this XHTML and it was recommended by W3C in the year 26 January 2000, and similarly XHTML version 1.1 is recommended by W3C in the year 31st May 2001. At present we are using HTML5. This is latest version of XHTML. Same as HTML, XHTML also contains three parts. First one is document type, second one is head, and third one is body. Document type represent what version of XHTML we are using. For example, version 1.1, 5, etc. And similarly head represent title. We need to write title inside head and we need to write actual content inside body. These are the three parts in XHTML. I will explain difference between HTML and XHTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language and it is used to create web pages, whereas XHTML stands for Extensible Hypertext Markup Language. It is family of XML. This XHTML is family of XML, not HTML, and it is extension to HTML. This HTML is not supported by all browsers, but XHTML is supported by all browsers. For example, Internet Explorer, Google Chrome, Firefox. It was supported by all browsers. And HTML was proposed by Tim Berners-Lee in the year 1987, whereas XHTML was proposed by W3C, that is World Wide Web Consortium, in the year 2000. HTML is application of Standard Generalized Markup Language, shortly it is known as SGML, whereas XHTML is application of XML. HTML is extended from SGML, whereas XHTML is extended from XML and HTML. XHTML is combination of both XML and HTML. In order to work HTML in all devices, we need to perform some changes. But whereas XHTML is supported by all devices, there is no need to change, there is no need to make changes because XHTML was supported by all devices. These are the difference between HTML and XHTML. If you consider this HTML program, inside HTML I written head and inside it I written title as example of bad HTML because I am writing bad HTML program. Bad HTML mean program which do not contains closure tags is known as bad HTML. If you consider this, inside body I written H1, but I did not close this H1. Similarly, I opened paragraph, but I did not close this paragraph. Even if I do not include closure tags here, this program will work in HTML, but this program will not work in XHTML because XHTML follow rules very strictly, whereas HTML do not follow rules strictly. If you return same program in HTML, output will be displayed. Even if you don't use closure tags, output is generated. But if you write this same program in XHTML, output is not going to get generated because there is no closure tags here. So output is displayed as error message. So when compared to HTML, XHTML is very strict. Topic is XML DTD. DTD stands for Document Type Definition. XML DTD is a document that is used to represent structure of XML document. The main use of this XML DTD is to represent structure of XML document, and it also used to represent elements and attributes of XML document. These are the two uses of XML DTD. We can also call this XML DTD, that is document type definition, as document type declaration. We can also call this DTD as document type declaration, and it is also used to perform validation, that is performance validation. In order to check performance, in order to validate the performance, we use this XML DTD. Syntax of XML DTD. XML DTD contains document type element, DTD identifier, and inside that we need to write declaration. We can write n number of declarations. This is syntax of XML DTD. And next types. DTD is classified into two types. First one is internal DTD and second one is external DTD. In internal DTD, we represent elements inside HTML file, whereas in external DTD, we represent elements outside XML file. This is difference between internal DTD and external DTD. These are the syntax. Internal DTD contains document type and root element. After that, we need to write element declaration. Similarly, external DTD contains document type, root element, system file name. These are the syntaxes of internal DTD and external DTD. Now I will explain examples of internal DTD and external DTD so that you can clearly differentiate difference between them. As we all know, XML file contains XML version, that is 1.0, and encoding type is UTF-8. In internal DTD, at first we need to write document type, and I took root element as address, and similarly we need to close this. I open this and similarly I close this, and inside that I written element address as which is root element. This root element we need to write here element address. Address contains name, company and phone number, and again we need to write separate elements for this. Next element name as PC data. Here we need to write, here we need to enter name here. Similarly element company hash PC data, and similarly element phone hash PC data. This entire is known as DTD. And similarly next we need to write XML file address. Here first root element is address, so at first I took address. Address contain name. I given name as Sai. We need to enter this inside this, and company as Dell, and phone number as 9 to so on. This is details which I have entered in hash PC data. This is known as internal DTD. In single file we have written DTD and XML. This is internal DTD. Next I will explain external DTD. External DTD is same as internal DTD, but difference is that we need to write this XML in one file and DTD in another file. Only difference is in single file we have written internal DTD, but whereas in external DTD we need to write DTD in one file and XML in another file. This is example. I took XML version as 1.0 and document type address, where address is root element, and system add.dtd. This is another file. For this file again I have to write another program. I took address. Inside address I given name as Sai, company as Dell, and phone number as 9 to so on. And I need to write program for this add.dtd. Here I written program which is same as in internal DTD. Element address, name, company and phone number. Again element name hash PC data, element company hash PC data, and element phone number hash PC data. This is program of external DTD. Next topic is DOM and SAX parsers. This DOM and SAX parsers are XML parsers. XML parser is nothing but it is a software library. We also call it as software packages. The main use of this XML parser is it provides interface. In order to work with XML document, we need interface. This XML parser provides interface for client application to work with XML document. If client want to work with XML document, he need one interface. This interface is provided by XML parser. This is structure of XML parser. If client want to work with XML document, he need XML parser. This XML parser contains API, that is application programming interface. XML parsers are classified into two types, as I said before. First one is DOM, that is document object model, and second one is SAX. SAX stands for simple API for XML. We will discuss difference between SAX parser and DOM parser. SAX stands for simple API for XML, whereas DOM stands for document object model. This one is event based parser, whereas DOM is tree structure. SAX parser is slower and this DOM parser is faster. SAX parser is suitable for only small size files, whereas DOM parser is suitable for large size files. SAX parser is suitable for making XML files, but DOM parser is not suitable for making XML files. By using SAX parser, we cannot create internal structure, but in DOM, we can create internal structure. This SAX parser is read only. That means we cannot perform any operation. We can only read. But whereas DOM parser, we can insert and delete nodes. We can insert new nodes and we can also delete nodes in document object model. In SAX parser, backward navigation is not possible. But whereas in DOM parser, both front and backward navigation is possible. This SAX parser is suitable only for efficient memory, but whereas this DOM parser is suitable for large XML documents. In SAX parser, we can only load small part of XML file. We cannot load entire file in SAX parser, but whereas in DOM, we can load whole XML document. This is difference between SAX parser and DOM parser. Since I have uploaded complete web technology tutorials, I will provide link in description. You can watch from there. Thank you.